my God, it's already set up. I'm done. I'm toast. It's over. Game over, guys. I missed it. I missed the window. Wow, that sucks. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Joe Simpson. We are out in my garage. What I wanted to do was go over the preparations and some of the things that I did to make this mold today. First of all, I'm going to be making this mold out of something called VAC50. Hold that thought. VAC50 is a product that basically is a poly resin, and you can make molds of different things that you already have in existence. I did one of these molds for the 3.5 inch depths cover scat. It works pretty good, but I get a little bubbling and air pockets. So what I wanted to do is take the mold, instead of being upright, you see how like the mold is upright and I have to shoot it this way, everything fills in and my bleeders are on the back and I get air bubbles like up here and up here. So what I want to do is try to make a mold that shoots top down. And so let me review real quick what I did on the mold design. All right, so I drew this thing out and I came up with this design with the 2 inch, 3 inch, and 4 inch. And I did some calculations on quantities and volumes for my mixtures for the epoxy. And then of course I made a list for a Home Depot run. I just came up with the design and modified it a little bit. You can see that I moved the inlet sprue over to the right, and I'm going to put the bigger 4 inch to the right, the 3 inch in the middle, and the 2 inch on the left. Not really sure why I decided to do it this way. Just thought maybe most of the material would go to the big one first and overflow into the other small pieces. So here's the concept. So this is kind of what I'm going after. And now that we've seen the design, I had to implement and think through and prepare some of the pieces to get ready. And one of the main things I have a hard time with is with this VAC50, you mix this stuff up and then you pour it together and it activates. From activation, I think it says you have 8 minutes of work time and 3 hours of dry time. So you have a little bit more than that. But what I find is you want to put those baits in there when it's still a little bit wet, so it takes a really good mold impression of your bait, and you want to get it in there not too early though, because you don't want your baits to sink. So what I did was I used 1/2 inch CPVC, which gives you a perfect fit for the 1/2 inch injector. I'll be injecting from up here. The bigger lure will be here, the medium one here, and the small one there. I don't know why I really set it up that way. For whatever reason, I just thought it would use more early and spill over later to the other. I have no idea how this thing really works. The other thing I like to do is put a hook slot in these like they have from the factory. I cut a piece of aluminum and I stick it in the hook slot, but I drill holes. So when the epoxy fills in around the bottom of that bait, it will go through the holes and hold the aluminum in place. So when I remove the bait, it'll leave the aluminum intact. Additionally, I cut these metal pieces to give it an exact 3/4 of an inch standoff from the bottom of the mold to the center of the bait. When I'm done, I end up with something that looks like this. You can see the aluminum pieces that are in there. So every time I pour that bait, I get the hook slots that I want. I've also made marks on the tube where the baits are going to line up. They're little brown marks there. You'll notice as well, I marked a 3/4 inch line all the way around the inside of this mold. So I'm really trying to plan this one out. So a lot of thinking going into it. You just kind of have to go slow and make sure you're ready, because once this stuff is poured and activated, you don't have a lot of time to move and think. And I went online, and what I did was I made some calculations, and I took the 4 3/4 by 5.5 inch space or area, and I calculated and converted cubic inches into cups. And so I'm going to need roughly 1.3 or 1.4 cups. So I'm going to make 1.5 cups of mixture, so I have plenty. You can see here I marked the 3/4 cup line and the 1.5 cup line, so I know how to mix equal parts. I did that with water in the kitchen, so I just took 3/4 of a cup, poured it in there, marked it with a marker, another 3/4 of a cup, marked it with a marker, and I got my marks. Okay, so the next step is going to be pouring this stuff, mixing it together, and hopefully this goes well, because the last one didn't turn out so well. One thing you want to do is use some mold release. mold release is the stuff that keeps the polymer from sticking all over the mold. You want to release that other section so the two pieces don't stick together. This isn't going to be pretty, so I'm using a lot. You want to wear a mask. Okay. You want to make sure that you stir this stuff really well before you put it together. So I just have to pay attention to where my and you want to keep paper towels and trash cans handy because this stuff is a mess. I've more or less got two components, one on top of the other. Stir like crazy man here. Let's take another look at that t-shirt. Oh yeah, scum frog. I'm gonna get it off the edges real good all the way down through there. This stuff is called VAC 50. This is a two-part pour. What I'm gonna do is pour the first part, let it tighten up a little, put the lures in, let it totally, completely solidify. Keep stirring. Oh, Jesus. She's setting up. So I'm gonna sit here and try to clean this a little bit. I think I'm gonna try to set these lures down in there now. Oh my God, it's already set up. I'm done, I'm toast. It's over. Game over, guys, I missed it. I missed the window. Wow, that sucks. It's too fast. Too damn fast. Wow, that didn't go well at all. So I'm gonna have to do another mix. Hopefully I'll have enough. I've marked this cup with the marking points of where I need to mix this stuff. That stuff went fast. It said I had 8 minutes to work. No dice, man. That was like a couple seconds. So I'm gonna move quick on this one. You got enough room for one mistake. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got all of my stuff kind of sitting and ready. I didn't put a back on this time. I just put it on paper, which is completely fine. Hopefully get this one done this time. I want to get it up as close to that line as I can. What I don't want to do is drop it in there and have it just sink to the bottom, right? Starting to get tight, I'm gonna drop it in. Not gonna happen to me again. This stuff isn't cheap, it's like 50 bucks for 2 parts, so. All right, wow, that was nerve-wracking. Okay guys, we have this thing we have the mold set. It's gonna be about as good as we can get it for now. This stuff moves fast, so I guess word of caution is to be prepared to boogie when this stuff starts to set up. Just put everything in because it moves really fast. We'll let this thing set up for 3 hours or so and we'll demold it. Actually, we won't demold it, we'll pour the other half. And then we'll see where we go from there. Okay guys, so this is set up quite a bit and it's time for me to put the second layer on there. And if you've noticed, I've drilled some holes throughout and those holes are there to align the two mold halves. So what I'm going to do is mold release it with some grilling spray. I might even use some mold release, but I've found that the mold release doesn't work as good as actually the grilling spray does. So I'm going to mix up this second batch. And all I'm going to do is hit this with mold release and pour that second batch in there. Let this all set up for quite a few hours, and then I'm going to come back and peel it all apart and we'll see what we end up with. Okay, so the second batch has been poured in. You can see a little bubbling going on there. Those will usually work their way out. You can pick it up and drop it. Like, try to work some of those bubbles out, but I don't worry about it too much. As long as they're not in on the baits, I'm going to be good to go. So about 2-3 hours from now, I think I can peel this thing apart. So as you can see, one side is much deeper than the other, which I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know if it's going to matter in the long run. They're the same size, but I just have my bait sitting too deep in the first side of the mold. So that was a mistake. It's not the cleanest pour, and I'm getting some weird ooze out of this side right here. So I don't know what that is, if I have a pocket of unmixed epoxy in there, but I got to keep cleaning that out. I'm just going to give it a few hours to set up and hopefully I can get this thing to work. And all I'm trying to do is make, you know, basically a mold of that bait right there, because it's so hard to come by and sometimes you have to pay a huge amount. So if I can make something close, I can call it a win.